So I see we have a church-going group here. Everybody starts filling up in the back of church. So, anyway, it's winter outside. It's beautiful, isn't it? Came through St. Cloud the other morning. The snow was covered on the trees, and it's really picturesque. Now, in the wintertime, it looks good, but it's not a lot of fun working with cows in the wintertime, is it? Well, it's also not a lot of fun working with bulls in the wintertime. Now, you are the patrons of Minnesota Select Sires Cooperative. So in essence, you own them. And Minnesota Select Sires Cooperative is one of the parent owners of Select Sires. So you guys actually own Select Sires and the bulls at Select Sires. And I want you to rest assured, you can sleep comfortably at night, that even when it gets Ohio cold, when it gets really cold, we take good care of your most valuable assets. Your bulls are in good hands at Select Sires. Can you guys see okay? Am I in your way?
Maybe if you step down, we can see the screen.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. We had a great graduating class in December. Some really good bulls that came in. And we know our competitors graduated some new bulls, and once in a while we get a little jealous when a competitor graduates a high bull. Typically, you look at a bull with first crop daughters, he's usually going to have about 70 to 100 daughters in his brood. An example, if you look at these two first crop bulls, you're probably going to pick bull A based on what you know there. But really what's important to you, the dairyman, is 3 years later when you're milking the daughters of those bulls that you just bought semen on those new grads, did you get what you thought you were getting? Did you get what you paid for? And was he still the kind of bull you thought? Because sometimes when they get second crop daughter 3 years later, at thousands of daughters, they change. And sometimes you should probably would have picked a little different bull. And this is where I think Select Sires really shines. I think this is where we're really strong. Because if you look at Holstein's top 100 TPI list based on bulls with minimum 97% reliability for production and type, a lot of data. You know how good they are or how good they are not. We have by far more bulls that held the test of time than any of our competitors. And matter of fact, 5 of the top 8 on the top 197% reliability list are Select Sire bulls. And really the secret is simple. Our PGA program does a better job than anybody's progeny test program identifying the genetic value of a bull right the first time on first crop daughters, because we are truly the only true national AI sampling program. By that, what I mean is, every calf we sample, we put out semen in every geographical part of the United States. And most all of our competitors will regionally sample a bull, or maybe sample them mostly in one part of the country. And why do we do this? Is the climate any different up here than this part of the country? Quite a bit. Does heat tolerance play a role? Is herd size different, and therefore herd mate deviations different there than maybe they are in other parts of the country? Are they housed differently in this part of the country than this part of the country? Tie stalls versus free stalls versus loose housing. Do they get fed differently? And yes, to me, as much as anything, used on different bloodlines. So when we progeny test a bull, and he gets his first crop daughters with 100 milking daughters, we pretty much tested him the hard way. So that then when we sell semen on a new graduate, and 3 years later he gets his second crop daughters and has thousands of daughters, you pretty much get the same results. For some of our competitors, that has not necessarily been the case. And this has not been a one-time event. This has been year after year after year, and Select Sires bulls have delivered what they've promised. We've been very fortunate over the years to have had some bulls that made a difference, what we call our impact sires. This is an artwork we did a few years ago. And there are a lot of good bulls in a breed. But there's a difference, in my opinion, between a good bull and a great bull. A good bull makes good cows, but a great bull makes good cows and great sons and grandsons. And their legacy goes on for many generations forward. And I think we've had a lot of those great bulls. And they've been the seed stock for our next generation, as well as our competitors. Well, this year we're going to do a new artwork. Haven't finalized which bulls are going to be added to it, but no doubt O-Man will be on that list, because he has certainly been a global impact bull. And really, O-Man came along exactly at the right point of time, when the Holstein breed needed to address cow fertility and calving needs. We saw a lot of herds start going to crossbreeding to try to get herd fertility back. He did that bull better than any bull in the breed history. And now we benefit from that through his many sons and grandsons. Planet, an amazing bull now with 99% reliability. He also came along exactly when the breed needed it. A time when the breed needed an outcross pedigree bull that would moderate stature, because the Holstein breed has been growing at an alarming rate, and he will help moderate stature, yet put a lot of milk from beautiful udders, maintain cow fertility, and keep that great calving needs. Damien, an amazing type bull. Even today, he is the #1 type bull in the breed among 99% reliability bulls for type. He is the bar from which all other type bulls are compared. Little different kind of bulls, aren't they? But I think that's what reflects the breeding philosophy at Select Sires. It is not our role to generate bulls and dictate to you the kind of bull you should use in your herd. Our role is to create the best bulls for whatever the breeding philosophy happens to be. And that's what we intend to do at Select Sires. Our breeding goal is pretty simple. A 7H sire for every desire. And I had to go through 7,593 calves to find that 7H. So I did. There are dairymen out there that want to breed for great conformation cows, great barn cows, excellent cows, show cows. And we're going to deliver the best bulls that you can get to do that, like the Damiens, the Atwoods, the Sanchez's. There are a group of dairymen out there that don't want to go big and milk a lot of cows, but they want to get involved in making income from seed stock, selling females at state and local sales and national sales, sell embryos, sell bulls to AI. And we're going to create the bulls that can do that, like the Planet Sons, Super Sire, bulls like that. A large segment of our market want high-producing, feed-efficient, trouble-free cows. And we're going to create the bulls that can do that better than anyone. The O-Man bloodlines, the Planet bloodlines, etc. There are dairymen that want pole genetics or red. We aim to have the very best of sires of both. And likewise, there are dairymen, as feed costs have gone up, have moved to grazing. And we have bulls designed to meet that market need as well. Ultimately, there's 3 major traits: fitness traits, conformation traits, and production traits. All pretty necessary to make a profitable cow or a profitable herd of cows. And any time one of those becomes the weakest link, you'll never maximize what the genetics of that animal is. So if you got an animal that really, really wants to milk, but her feet and legs are so bad, what happens? She doesn't get to the feed bunk as well. Milk production goes down. She probably doesn't show heats. So you never get what you should have been able to get out of it. So the important thing is not to have the weakest link. And if you look at large herd environments, the traits that tend to have animals that last longer are those that have low somatic cell with a good productive life and a favorable daughter pregnancy rate. Low calving ease, low stillbirth. Moderate statured cows tend to last a little longer than the trait-based cows, and moderate dairy form. Cows that are ultra dairy, ultra skinny, ultra thin don't seem to last long. Great udders and feet are very, very important, and obviously cows that know how to work. So if we can maximize all of those traits, those tend to be the most profitable cows. For many years, we've always said we want cows to last longer. Does anybody here want cows to last longer? We all do, right? But in the last couple of years, when feed costs have skyrocketed, people have told me, yes, we want cows that last longer, but only if they're milking. If they're not profitable, I don't want them. They're too costly to feed. So we came up with a Feed Pro Index. And it's designed to create a more moderate-sized cow, give more milk, maintain cow fertility, and give cows that are more profitable return on your investment. Now, if you compare our Feed Pro Index to TPI, they have the same exact percent relationships of percent for production traits, fitness traits, and conformation traits. But where they are different, Feed Pro puts a weight for pounds of milk, which is not in the TPI formula, and it puts a negative weight for body frame size. So ultimately, Feed Pro is like TPI, but with more milk and less emphasis on stature. For those that want to look at net merit, compare Feed Pro. Now we're looking at a pretty good difference, significant difference between the percent of the three major traits. Because net merit only puts a total of 6% weight combined on udder composite and foot and leg composite. And we don't believe that's near enough. And so we don't think that puts that kind of emphasis there. Likewise, Feed Pro has a weight for pounds of milk, net merit does not. So you're actually going to see some pretty high net merit bulls out there that may be significantly minus for milk. So in essence, Feed Pro is a net merit with more milk and better udders and feet and legs. And most dairymen will agree that's the kind of cow we need. If you look at our proven lineup of bulls, these are our highest Feed Pro Index bulls. Planet is right near the top, Yance and Kinley. The bulls in bold print are our new graduates in December that just came out. Like Maskell and Watson and Billings, Bacardi, Mizzou, etc. Maskell, a Bolton son, major league production bull, low somatic cells, 7% calving ease, really good type, moderate stature cows. Nice linears for udders, and a nice addition. Billings, also a new graduate from Bolton son, amazing milk bull, low somatic cell, exceptionally good type. He only had 14 daughters in his type group, but since then, he's had 26 new daughters scored. And his type deviations have actually gone up. And I think this is really going to be a popular bull. And what I really like when I look at the Billing daughters, he's going to sire a moderate-sized cow with ideal combination of dairy strength. And I am a true believer dairy strength is a far more important trait than people give it credit for. And it's certainly not in any selection index. And I'll tell you why. When the automobile industry introduced the SUV, Sports Utility Vehicle, that first year, what did they have problems with SUVs the first year they were out? Rollovers. Exactly right. How did they solve it? They widened the wheelbase. They knew the center of gravity is what you have to look at. Same thing holds true with cows. Some people don't like big cows, but I'm not as opposed to a bigger cow as long as her center of gravity and wheelbase is there. So the taller she gets, the wider she must be to manage her center of gravity. And I'm a true believer, any cow too narrow, tall, medium, or small, a frail cow does not last. If they do not handle stress, they do not survive. So I think those are the kind of things you need to keep in mind. And Billings does all of those things. A more moderate-sized cow that's built like this, and you get a cow like this. I think we'd all agree when you see a cow like this, you put them out in concrete freestyle operations, they're going to survive. They're pretty darn rugged. And yet he's a major league milk bull, but they do it easy. They do it from strength. They don't burn themselves down to nothing. So I think Billings is going to be one of our really popular selling bulls for 2013. Very, very uniform. For the dairymen looking for fitness traits, you're usually looking for high productive life bulls with favorable daughter pregnancy rate and low somatic cell score. And we got a whole group of bulls like Roland, one of my favorite bulls. We got bulls like Domingo and Colby and Cadet, 99% reliability bulls. But also new graduates like Lucifer and Bacardi fall in the great fitness trait category if that's what you're selecting for. If you're looking for bulls for grazers, they're usually looking for high combined fat and protein bulls. Lower stature, less than 2 points on stature, and positive daughter pregnancy rate. Why? Because they need to calve them back on an annual basis, on a seasonal basis, so those are very, very important. So we got a great group of bulls that will work into that market, like Yance and Abram, Mainstream, and Bacardi. Bacardi, a new graduate in December, a Baxter son, great component sire for fat and protein percent, high net merit. Low somatic cell, productive life, daughter pregnancy rate, keeps that 7% calving ease, really good feet and legs, and he's had 19 new daughters classified, and his type deviations have actually gone up. Again, moderate sized cow, nice combination of dairy strength, really good feet and legs, and nice four-uddered cows. Lucifer, also a Baxter son, same kind of bull. Great components, outstanding fitness trait bull, really good type with really good feet and legs, and a nice combination of dairy strength. Powerful cows, rugged kind of cows. Cows you can use on those narrow, frail, chicken-chested kind of cows. Getting cows bred. Has anyone here ever had to breed a cow a second time? A third time? Be honest, a fourth time. And so when you go to the semen tank, what's the number one thing in your mind? Get her bred, right? Well, there is a difference between bulls. And obviously, you look at their sire conception rates, that will help you identify some of those. And we have more high SCR bulls than any of our competitors. But if you really want to maximize herd fertility, look at high SCR bulls that are also high DPR bulls. So if you do have to breed her that fourth time, and you're lucky enough to get her pregnant, then you're lucky enough to get a heifer calf out of her. When that heifer calf calves in, maybe you're lucky enough to get her bred back a little easier. So if you really have fertility issues in the herd and want to improve that significantly, look for bulls like this that can really maximize both sire conception rate getting cows pregnant, but also improve those daughters of those bulls getting bred themselves in the next generation. And yes, we got a group of bulls that will help you get a better night's sleep. What kind of bulls do you think help you sleep better at night? Any guess? How about calving these bulls? A pregnancy and a live calf born unassisted are all very important. And I am a true believer that the profit and loss of a first lactation heifer is determined how she comes through calving. A heifer that hasn't had a difficult calving will usually have a live calf. Half of those will be heifers, so you'll have more replacements. Usually they won't have a retained placenta. Usually you don't have to treat them. Usually you don't have more vet bills. You don't have to cut them out. And heifers that have had a difficult calving usually do not do what very well the next time? Bring back. And you start the process all over again. So I am a huge believer in a heifer AI program that these kind of bulls will change the profit and loss in a herd. I put together what I call a calving composite, and it's simply the average of sire calving ease, daughter calving ease, sire stillbirth, and daughter stillbirth. And I think these kind of bulls will definitely not only help you make you sleep better at night, not have to get up and pull them, but you're also going to end up with less headaches, less repro problems, less discarded milk, and more replacement heifers. We got a lot of bulls that fall in this category, like second crop bull Domingo at 99% reliability. Shot, our #1 selling bull. Plato and Roland, two of my favorite bulls. Guthrie, a high-type bull. High-type bull that can be a Cadman's bull. And another group of bulls that does the same thing, like Watson, our new graduate this time in December. Bacardi again, and Durable, one of our top selling bulls. Bulls that really, really make life more pleasurable. Watson, the new graduate of Oliver's son, great components. Low somatic cell, good productive life, 7% calving ease, 2.3 on sire conception rate. You'll get cows bred. Lovely type, #12 TPI bull in the breed, and a bull that we are using as a mating sire for sons. And he's had an additional 29 new daughters scored since the type proofs, and his type proof has stayed about the same. So a bull that really does a balanced job and sires that moderate-sized cow with a nice combination of dairy strength and outstanding udders. This is a beautiful Watson daughter out in Michigan I saw just a week ago in a 500 cow herd. I saw her going into the parlor, and I saw her coming out. And that udder milked down like a dish rag. Just silky, silky, silky quality udder. So I think he can make those kind. I think Watson will be one of our really popular selling bulls in 2013. Lots of milk from beautiful udders. Way back when, Walkway Chief Mark was the bull that put select sires on the map for bull that could create big time milking cows with deep open rib and put a V8 engine in them. They give a lot of milk. And we still have those kind of bulls today, like the Kindleys, the Gabors, Maskell, Planet, Cimarron, Buildings, bulls like that. Also bulls like Fork, Barsano, to me he's the next coming of Blitz. Golf, P. Marty, bulls that will give you more milk from beautiful, beautiful udders. Golf is a Bolton son with lots of production, low somatic cell, good productive life, fantastic type, and he's had 24 new daughters scored, and his type deviations have gone up even more. He's already the #8 TPI bull on Holstein's top 100 TPI list. So he should have a lot of data in April and continue to look exceptionally strong. Beautiful linear for dairy strength, good foot angle, good fore udders, high wide rear udders, and nice shallow udders for a bull that gives you a lot of milk. Gulf, a nice new addition from the December run. If you're looking for type, we got it. We have more high type bulls than any of our competitors. GW Atwood, I actually put together a type composite, because I like to put a little bit more emphasis on the kind of type that I find important, and that's udders and feet and legs. So it's merely an average PTAT, udder composite, foot leg composite. Atwood shines at the top, bulls like Hero and Time and Damien are 99% reliability bulls. Our new graduate Fork falls in that category as a big time type bull. Golf, same thing. And our bulls like Guthrie and Dempsey, who we've all really appreciated as fantastic type bulls. Also Sanchez and Braxton are up in this category. And P. Marty, our first Pontiac son we just graduated. Apple Red, a new graduate. Durables up here, and new graduates Cimarron and Billings. So if you're looking for really great conformation bulls, we have them. A bull like Fork, lots of production, low somatic cells, great sire conception rate, really good type, and he's had 28 new daughters scored, and his type deviations have not changed. And wow, amazing linears for udders. Absolutely gorgeous uddered fourth daughter. A bull that's really changing the breed for type. GW Atwood, the #1 proven type bull in the breed. And in my opinion, I've seen probably 100 milking daughters. I think this is probably the most significant type bull in the breed since Reagan Chris, Elton, Durham, and what I've seen. I am really, really believe that. He already has 380 daughters in his type group, and he is off the charts. And yep, when you buy semen, you are going to get pregnancies. He's an amazing conception rate bull as well. As extraordinarily a linear bull as you will find in the breed today. And I think he's a bull that's going to make some fancy heifers, but I think he's really going to do best job as cows. You're going to see some of these heifers and young 2-year-olds that may be going to be a little bit gangly and stretchy with a nice little udder on them. But I think it's just like what I saw in the Durhams when they were 2-year-olds years and years ago. You might see a Durham back then that calved in, go 82 points, nothing wrong with her, just nothing special about her. And then you take a look at that same cow in second and third lactation, she bodies out, widens out, and that udder blooms, and you go, wow, where did she come from? The kind that can be an 82.2-year-old and an 88 and 90.3-year-old, and I think Atwood will do that as well. But he can also make the big timers right out the chute. He's already got his first All-American milking daughter, a phenomenal 89.2-year-old, and he totally dominates the udders. No matter how many you look at, udders are amazingly well attached, and obviously Jim is the breeder at Macklin Farms here, this beautiful 88 excellent mammary Atwood daughter. He can do that. They're silky, they're dairy, incredible udders, udder quality, and a really, really healthy leg to go with it. So it's really about second crop success, because that's the bulls that you are milking the daughters out of. And we are stronger than ever. We have more second crop success bulls now than ever before. And you look at every AI company's lineup, and I will wager you, we have more bulls over $1,000 on our lineup than anybody, and probably more than all of our competitors combined. So I do think we have the bulls that are not only here today and going tomorrow, but the bulls that have the staying power, and they're still as well respected when they get second crop daughters as when they came out as first crop sires. And Planet is certainly going to be a global changing bull. No matter what country you go to, they are absolutely exceptional cows. A tremendous will to milk from a beautiful udder. Like this one in Germany, this really fancy Planet daughter in Holland, and 3 gorgeous Planet daughters in Italy. And he's going to make a huge impact in the breed for bull dams. This is an excellent 91, excellent mammary Planet daughter. Look at that gorgeous udder. I saw her a month ago in New York when I was out there, and we already have a son of her that's a high bull that we are using as a sire for sons. Another Planet daughter, incredible young cow, not a big cow, but a beautiful udder cow. We already have 5 sons in our program out of this cow. Platinum and Diamond, 2 Snowman sons, Headliner and Super Sire, 2 robust sons. And Super Sire is the #1 genomic TPI bull in active AI in December. This cow has 4 of the top 20 active sons in the breed today. Truly an impact cow. Gabor, to me, is the closest thing to walkway chief mark in the breed today. Absolutely incredible will to milk. They got that V8 engine to work, low somatic cells, keeps that calving ease, but they do it from great type and exceptional lineage. They have that openness and they have that tremendous dairy strength. And in today's world, he is truly an outcross bull. And we are trying to mate as many of his best daughters as possible to create a new outcross bloodline to continue on. Just up and down the road, they are just really solid cows. There's one at Bob Webb's in Wisconsin. I have a son out of her already. We have her contracted for more sons, and I have her oldest daughters currently under contract with sons. If you like red, we got them. We have the #1, #2, and #3 proven TPI red or red carrier bulls in the breed. Apple Red, a new graduate, and obviously Durable has been a very, very popular bull in our program. These are our top selling bulls for 2012. Shot was our #1 selling bull, Durable, Rolling, Million, Planet, etc. And to make this list, a bull has to do 2 things. One is he has to make a lot of semen, and the other, he has to have a demand. He has A lot of people have to want it. And all these bulls fall in that category. Bulls that make a lot of semen and can really has a big demand in the marketplace. And there are different kinds of bulls going to different markets. Again, trying to do our best to serve our customers. In our sampling program, our goal this year is to sample 275 black and white Holsteins, 10 red and whites, of which 15 of those combined up here will be polled. But we're also looking to expand our Jersey program because the Jersey breed continues to grow. We already have the largest Jersey sampling program in the U.S., and we're going to expand that because the Jersey numbers in the U.S. have really exploded in recent years. And genomics, something that's really been talked about a lot. Some people think it's magic, and some people think it's witchcraft. And it's really neither. Does anyone here believe that I can breed a black and white bull to a black and white cow and get a red and white calf? Is that possible? Yep. Why? We know that both of them had to carry the red gene, right? Now, does anybody believe here that I could have took a DNA sample of that bull and a DNA sample of that cow and predicted they carried the red gene? We all watch CSI, don't we? So we believe that. That's kind of commonplace. We know you can use DNA and figure things out, what they inherited. Well, it's not as simple. Red and CBM and BLAD and that kind of things are controlled by one gene, a single gene. But other traits are controlled by many genes, like milk production, controlled by many different genes and how they work together. But doesn't it make sense that we should also be able to figure out how some of these other genes work as well? And that's what genomics tries to do for us. Genomic bulls are not the same as proven bulls. Proven bulls usually will have reliabilities, about 90% reliabilities for production and type traits. Probably about 60-some% reliabilities for fitness traits. The average genomic reliability for a genomic young bull for milk, fat, and protein is going to be about 75%. Does a really good job on type traits. They average about 74%. Does a great job on somatic cell, about 75%, and a little less accuracy that you get from some of the other fitness traits. And we're not saying it's the same as a proven bull, but the point is it better than what we used to have before genomics? Before genomics, we had the parent average of the calf. That was it. So the important thing is genomics better than the way we used to do it with parent average alone. Did it help us in our accuracies? And now we know from early data, yes, it does. An example, in the USDA file, we get the actual herd weight difference for milk, fat, and protein in percent somatic cell. Not the predicted, not the pedigree, not the genomic, but the actual deviation from herd weight, what you realize in the herd. So we went back and looked at almost 1,500 Holstein bulls that had genomic predictions in April of 2010. No milking daughters. And now we go back and look at the December proofs, now with them with milking daughters. How well did the old parent average do predicting actual daughter yield deviation for milk versus the parent average with the genetic markers predicting actual yield deviations for milk? Has anybody here ever been to a casino? If you're going to go to the casino and gamble and play blackjack or something like that, if your odds are about 50-50 to win, will you play as aggressively if your odds are 75% chance you're going to win? I'll take those odds every day of the week. It's not 100%, it's not 90%, but it's significantly better than it was before genomics, using parent average alone. Same thing with protein yield and fat yield. Those correlations are significantly better than parent average alone. Also somatic cell, but obviously it does not do as good a job on predicting productive life. Why is that? Did anybody have a heifer 2-year-old calf out this week? Raise your hand. How long is she going to live? Hard to predict, isn't it? So what USDA does to come up with a productive life index, they look at the things that historically tell you where the cow stays in the herd. If you have a heifer that calves in, what does she need to do to stay in the herd? If she milks, she stays, right? If she doesn't, she leaves. If she calves in and she milks, but doesn't ever get bred back, she leaves. So fertility makes a difference. If she's a constant mastitis cow, she probably leaves. If the udder is deep, she probably doesn't last as long. That makes a difference. So USDA looks at all those traits and put them in a model and have a composite called productive life predicting how long they're going to last. It's harder to predict genomically on productive life. Does genomics really help us predict the type bulls? We received our very first genomic file from USDA in 2008. And I looked at the bulls getting proofs in 2009. They had no milking daughters yet. And I looked at that file and it said we were going to have our very first 4-point type bull. And a year and a half later, we had a bull called Braxton that with over 100 classified daughters was 4.06 on type. 2009, our genomic file, it said in 2010 we were going to have our next 4-point type bull. And that bull's name was going to be G.W. Atwood. And I think you already saw where he lands at 4.5 points on type. Did a pretty amazing job helping us identify the outliers for type as well. Do bulls change? Yes. You go back in the last 40 years, they still have changed. Bulls before genomics. Bulls got first crop proofs. 3 years later, had hundreds and thousands of daughters. Some bulls changed, some didn't. Some went up, some went down, some stayed the same. Hopefully more stayed than not. So if you take a look at all bulls, all AI studies, and look at their first crop daughter proofs in April of 2010, and now you look at the bulls that added second crop data in December, most of them stayed within 50 TPI, plus or minus TPI points of their first crop data. Did a pretty darn good job. But yes, some bulls were underestimated. They went up a lot more than their first crop proofs. And yes, some bulls went down quite a bit, and obviously were not near as good as their first crop data said. So even proven bulls still change. Same thing should be expected with genomic bulls, but not as high reliability, remember? So you would expect a little bit more change, and that's exactly what we see. You look at all genomic bulls in all studs in the U.S., and you look at their genomic prediction in April of 2010 with no milking daughters, and now look at their proofs in December with milking daughters, at least 50 milking daughters. The lion's share of them didn't change a lot, but it was probably closer to plus or minus 100 TPI points. And yes, some went up a lot more than their genomic prediction predicted, and some went down a lot more. And as a group, they shifted down. If you look at calving ease, it did a pretty good job. The lion's share of the bulls changed less than plus or minus 1% on calving ease. But the average of the group is plus 0.7. So if you're looking to use genomic bulls in your heifer AI program, I would err on the high side. So if a bull's, I use bulls at 7% and below. Because if a bull is 7% and he's wrong, likelihood, the worst case scenario, he'll be a 8. So I think you'd feel pretty comfortable doing that. If you look at all those bulls sampled in the U.S. in 2008, and you look at their genomic predictions in April of 2010 before no milking daughters to their current daughter data proofs, the average change, the whole group of bulls was down 110 pounds of milk, 6 of fat, 3 of protein, minus 0.25 on type, minus 2 on udders, minus 0.13 on feet and legs, and 75 TPI points and about 70 net. The trait that it missed the most on was productive life, minus 1.1. So you can almost take this amount of information off of all of the young bulls, and that's your starting point. And yeah, we get frustrated when a bull slides and they're not quite as high as their original predictions, But we've also told USDA that they've been too high. But really the important thing is, did it pick the right group of bulls on top? That's really the ultimate importance. So if you look and rank all the bulls by TPI that year, April of 2010, and you look at the top 25% quartile, the second 25%, the third, and the bottom quartile, where did the graduates from all the AI companies come from? The lion's share of the graduates came out of the prediction April 2010 of the top 25%. So it did a really good job of finding the right group of bulls. Some did graduate from the second, some from the third, and one red one came out of the bottom, and that was because he was red. So this is my philosophy on genomics. Don't just use the top bull, or the third bull, or the eighth bull. Use the top percentage group of bulls. Don't be afraid to look around for the bulls that have your traits. If we sample 300 bulls in a year, and let's say we'll rank them by Feed Pro Index. So we'll have 75 bulls in each quartile. Our top 25% Feed Pro bulls, our second, our third, and our fourth. I am very confident now, based on looking at historical information and what we see from prediction and proof, that a bull will not change more than one quartile. That's the message I want to get across. So if he's in the top quartile for Feed Pro when we sample him, when he has 100 milking daughters, he'll be in the top half of that group of bulls, 300 bulls that got proofs for Feed Pro. If he's in the second quartile, he could be anywhere. If he's in the third quartile, and if he's in the fourth quartile, I'll put my money down right now that he will not be a top half proven bull. So I think that kind of puts things in perspective. So let's take a look in the barns. What we've got, we built 2 brand new barns, 40 box stalls each. Very comfortable bulls for your bulls. And if you look at our high genomic bulls, we have 12 of the top 25 bulls in active AI, including the high bull and super sire. And if you look at the top 100, we have more than twice as many as our next nearest competitor. Well, genomics has done a pretty good job predicting the last 2 years. So if it continues to do what it's been doing, I think there's a pretty good chance that we're going to be a competitor going forward and deliver the right kind of bulls. If you happen to be looking for genomic net merit dollars, we got them. 7 of the top 10 genomic active bulls were at select sires. Again, more than twice as many in the top 100 as any of our AI competitors. And if you look at the Feed Pro Index, looking at everybody's bulls out there that are active, genomic bulls, again, more than twice as many as our next competitor. And if you look at Feed Pro, we have 9 out of the top 10. The bulls that will sire a more moderate-sized cow, a lot more production, maintain fertility, and better udders and better feed legs. These are the genomic bulls that lead the top of our Feed Pro Index. Bulls like Super Sire, Moonray, Shan, Headliner, Sterling, Movie Rush, Bob, etc. All of these bulls have been used as sire fathers for sons. If you're looking for high fitness bulls, fitness trait bulls, we got them in genomic bulls, Suspect, Patron, Lane, Predestined, Morgan, Offie, Shamrock, and a lot more. If you're looking for grazing sires that are genomic sires, bulls like Moonray, Movie Rush, Olympic, Maurice, Predestined, Shot Class. If you're looking to improve herd fertility, high conception bulls with high daughter pregnancy rate, bulls like Shazam and Patron and Ziggy and Colt P and Lad P, Mogul and Lithium are up in this category, Mayfeed. And calving these bull specialists. And this is where it's not just genomic. I did not include any bulls in here that did not have at least 200 calving observations. So the calving score will not be genomic, it will be real calving observations. These are the genomic bulls that can really help you in your heifer lot, leading off with a 4-point type bull with gold chip. Bulls like Bama Red and Shamrock and Graffiti and Plan and Ziggy and Dakar, a red carrier. Bulls that will fit that market need. And yes, if you want lots of milk from beautiful udders, we have the genomic bulls that will do that. A ton of milk, bulls like Super Sire and Shot Class, Sterling, Shan, Shamrock. And it's interesting, We have the North American Genomic Alliance, but Europe has its own genetic formulas over there, their own database. And we do test some of our young calves over there on their request. And Schott class got a genomic evaluation in Germany through the Eurogenomics program, and he is the #1 genomic bull in Germany. So when you ever get a bull that's ranked really high in 2 different models, there's probably a pretty good chance he's going to be a for real kind of bull. If you're looking for great type, Brokaw, off the charts type composite, and bulls like Radnick, McCutcheon, Moon Boy, Gold Chip, Armani out of Apple Red, Defiant, a Braxton son that's off the charts, that's a red carrier. So if you want high type genomic bulls, we have those as well. If you're looking for the best of red, Dacre's probably been the most popular flush bull for red for creating the next generation of red sires. And we have an exciting group of high TPI red bulls to be sampled and released yet this year as super samplers. If you're looking for polled, Earnhardt P is certainly being really heavily used as a flush sire for the next generation polled sires. And we've got some even higher ranked polled sires that we are now using for sons and will be released, some of them starting in April, coming up here very shortly. So we intend to have the best of both red bulls and polled bulls in the breed. And I tell you, the sire development program has certainly changed over the years. And Bob has been on our sire committee for 2 different sessions. Many years ago, he was on the committee as well. And things have changed a lot since then, haven't they? Before genomics, we used to use the best proven bulls on cows and didn't get our sons. Then we got gutsy and started using proven bulls on cows and heifers. So we get a mating that produces a bull kind like Planet, born in March of 2003. And he gets his first daughter date approved, then we start using it as a mating sire for sons, and lo and behold, we'll have an early son like Observer, born 5 years later to get sampled. Now, with genomics, we'll use a young genomic bull on cows, and we'll use a young genomic on high genomic heifers, and really turn that generation interval. And someone said, well, you're really gambling big when you're using those young bulls on these heifers. Yes, we are. And we realize we're going to miss some. But just like in baseball, the guys that are the home run kings also are what lead what other list? Yep. The fact that they lead the strikeout list, do you want to get rid of them? Heck, no. Because when they're good, you have a home run leader, you usually win more games. And through this, I think we're going to get more home runs. And if we get some that don't turn out, we don't sample them. We don't keep them. So it took us 5 years to go from Planet to Observer, one of his earliest sire fathers for sons, but before genomics. Now since genomics, we used Observer right away as a sire father for sons, and we already ended up with an Observer son that we use for sons just 3 years later. And now we actually have an Observer grandson a year later, and it happens to be a mogul out of an Observer dam. It's amazing how fast these generations intervals are turning. I talked a little bit a while ago about a brand new graduate, Watson. Graduated in December. Typically, a bull would graduate as a proven bull. We'd sell semen, and usually 2 years later, we'd have his sons, and then 2 years later, we'd be mating his daughters. Here we have a brand new graduate, and we are already collecting semen on one of his grandsons to use as a sire father for sons. A peyote son is a year old now, a high genetic merit. We also have a mogul grandson out of a Watson dam. And we also have a McCutcheon grandson out of a Watson dam. So we've already utilized Watson heavily as a maternal grandsire in our pedigrees. This is a beautiful Al daughter. Al just graduated last summer into our active lineup and comes from Malari Farms here in Minnesota. Already has a son at Select Sires that we've already flushed to as a sire father for sons. Sired by Robust, a high genomic bull with high milk and high type. And Robust does not have a proof yet, but he will probably get a preliminary proof in April. And so far, the grapevine and what I've heard from guys is exceptionally good. So we're excited. Excuse me. Thank you, Chris. I think I got Chris's cold now. So we're excited about Robust possibly having a really exciting first proof here in April. You have probably heard a little bit about our ART program, Aggressive Reproductive Technology, where we try to use all the tools in the toolbox to maximize genetic progress. And yes, we do own some females. And about 25 to 30% of our bulls that come into our program will come from our ART program. And the rest, 70 to 75%, will come from traditional breeders across the country, just like they have in the past. And we still will acquire more bulls than most any of our competitors from breeders. And what we try to do in the ART program is do something a little different that not everybody's doing. Because everybody else seemed to be making the same sire, maternal grandsire combinations. And everything could very quickly go like this from an inbreeding standpoint. So we really need to be creative in developing some lines that will help us in managing our inbreeding. How things move. Here's a shot owl daughter in Wisconsin. Not a big cow, but a beautiful foot and leg. And she already has a grandson that selects sires. It's amazing how quickly things move. Shamrock was the #1 TPI and net merit bull in December of 2010. Just a little over 2 years ago. Super Sire is now the #1 TPI net merit bull in December of 2012 in the current proofs. And we already have a Shamrock grandson sired by Super Sire that will be on collection later this summer. That will be a sire father for sons. So it is amazing how quickly these generations turn. But in the ART program, we're trying to do some creative things for lines. And we have a program called Strategy. And in that, we're going to develop 5 different lines of sires. And there'll be a group of bulls that will fall into each of these lines. And to get into a line, we look at the DNA markers, the genetic makeup of a bull, and he has to be significantly related to one line, but he has to be virtually not related to any other line. So if he's related to 2 lines, he cannot be used. And what we'll do is we'll try to keep that line going so they are unrelated, so that when they go back to the dairyman to use, you know how to use him on lines that he is unrelated to. So an example, if one would be a planet line, one would be a shuttle line. But if you had calves that are planets out of shuttles, they would likely be related to 2 lines that they would not qualify for any of the lines. And the scheme is designed for a breeder, to use one line, particularly in herds, maybe a larger herd or herd doesn't watch ID maybe as quickly. Use one group of bulls from one color line for 2 to 2.5 years. And then when those next generation coming up for breeding, go to another line that complements them. Use them for 2.5 years. Pick the bulls within that line that meet your needs. And do that for 3 to 4 generations. Even after the 3rd generation, you can probably come back to another line that you like. And you're really going to significantly reduce inbreeding in the herd. And inbreeding, as we all know, depresses milk production and cow fertility. Our program so far has to be Mogul. He's a bull we made 3 years ago. He was sired by a young sire, high genomic young sire named Dorsey. I think you all know that now Dorsey is the #2 proven bull in the breed. And the dam of Mogul is an 88 axle mammary Payson Marsh, so something a little different. And he still ranks with the big boys today. And if you go to Holstein USA's website, you can click on a link there, and it shows the bulls that have had the most progeny registered at Holstein USA in the previous 2-week period. And January 11th, when I did my slide, I clicked on that, and to my surprise, 20 out of the top 24 bulls with the most progeny registered at Holstein were sired by select sire bulls. And the one with the most progeny registered was a bull called Mogul. One of the very early success stories from our ART program. When we bring in your very, very valuable calves from the ARC program, we built 2 state-of-the-art new calf barns to take good care of them, to keep them alive, because we don't want to lose them. We put them on an aggressive growing program and feed program, and typically we can get these bulls old enough to be on collection about a month younger than calves that typically come in from other farms around the country. So we will grow them faster and get them on collection. So as I conclude here today, yes, we are very proud of our past, but we're even more excited about our future. And I'm going to make a prediction, and that is things are going to warm up, but also in April, that Observer is going to have a very exciting daughter data proof. He was the #1 genomic TPI bull we sampled in 2010. And with over 100 daughters in his proof this coming April, I'm predicting that he will be one of the highest TPI proven bulls in the whole state breed. So, this is what we consider Ohio cold, but I'm not so naive since I've been in Minnesota to see what Minnesota cold is. You know what's cold means. So with that, I'll close and say thank you and open the floor to any questions. Any questions? We are not in church anymore. Well, yes, sir.
How do we get the information that you just presented? How could we obtain those lists of bulls for our own use?
Kim has a copy of my PowerPoint on her, that's her projector, her laptop, and she can print them off, or we can have Jennifer or the gals at Minnesota Select. They can take, you're talking about those that have groups of bulls with composites. Right. They can print off copies of those and make those available to anybody that wants them. Happy to share it. Happy to share it. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Don't get me wrong when I say this, but Select Sire does a real good job and everything, but as far as buying heifers and stuff like that for your program and stuff here, I feel like you're competing against your patrons that also want to buy those heifers. What's your comment on that?
Well, fortunately, we haven't been doing a whole lot of buying recently. We started our program 3 years ago. And we got in before everybody else got in, where it got really expensive. And yes, we don't want to be competing with anyone, but we also are realistic to know that if we don't try to do something different, and create some lines that not everybody else is going to do, it may not happen. And keep in mind that probably 90% to 95% of the dairymen that buy semen from Select Sires never have or never intend to try to sell bulls to AI. So as we have to serve all of our customers and patrons, we have to try to create the best bulls we possibly can, but also at an affordable price. Because the cost of acquiring bulls has skyrocketed. Our budget for acquiring bulls, even from dairymen, has quadrupled in 3 years. And as herd sizes have gone up around the U.S., herd sizes go like this, blend semen price goes like this. And it becomes a Walmart competition out there. And if we're going to be able to serve a lot of other customers other than those breeders that try to sell genetics to AI companies, we have to be able to keep our costs down the best we possibly can. Create some unique and interesting sire lines that not everybody else. But we're also, when we buy our females, we are buying them from breeders. If we buy embryos, we are buying them from our breeders. So we are continuing to support them as well. So we're doing a balance. But like I said, only about 20 to 25% of our bulls come from that program. So we will still end up buying over 200 bulls a year, probably 240, 250 bulls a year from farmers. And that is significantly more than I think every AI company out there except 2. The others will probably buy less than half of that.
Also, where do you think we'll be at in 4 or 5 years? What's your outlook as far as where we'll be at as far as, I mean, you explained today where we're at and how things are advancing. Do you have any idea?
In what respect?
As far as bulls and genetics, genomics, do you see that going further?
Yes.
As far as the SNPs and all that, do you have any research on that?
I think as we learn more, we'll get a little bit more accurate, a little bit, and they may in the future find markers for other things that are important. What would happen if they found significant markers for resistance to eelworts? Would that be important? Or significant markers to improve resistance to ketosis, metabolic diseases, that kind of thing. So there could be some key traits yet to be found. But as more and more animals are genomic tested, particularly females in cow families, you learn more about the family and you get them more accurate. You know, we went from the infancy of genomics to where we are now, but we have a long way to go and a lot to learn yet. But as we learn more and implement that, I think we'll be more accurate and we'll do a better job. And things, yes, will be moved forward. One of the biggest benefits to me in genomics is before genomics, we went out and bought and sampled what we thought were the best pedigreed bulls in the breed. Buy them, sample them. And some of those bulls, when they got their daughter date approved, turned out to be disasters. Hopefully genomics help us identify those bulls never see AI. So now even the worst bulls that get sampled in AI probably will be good bulls, not bad bulls. There have been bulls before genomics that were popular first crop proven bulls. You know, like Morty, Freelance. Very, very popular first crop bulls. But it wasn't until you got second crop data, second and third lactation, you realized they're minus 4 points on daughter pregnancy rate. They are infertile. Minus 4 points on productive life. They do not last. Hopefully genomics will help us identify those as calves, so those kind of extreme undesirable genes, those kind of bulls never get sampled. I think that's going to be one of the biggest pluses of genomics. Less total wrecks. Well, I appreciate your staying awake. And hopefully we can continue to listen to you and create the kind of genetics that you say you want for your breeding program. And you continue to get the great service that you get from the Minnesota Select Sires people. Hopefully we'll continue to earn your business in the future. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over.